Mark, hello, good morning. How are you?
I'm very well, as we approach the sort of last third of July and the
Right.
prospect of spring becomes ever nearer. I look forward to the day when I don't approach the toilet seat with trepidation for its coldness on my bottom. I don't like that in winter. Okay. And I know that we have a slight advantage over the ladies on this one, but no, man, I like to sit down on a warm toilet. Anyway, good morning to all of you out there, if that's not too deep
That is just a
to start the week
fabulous
with.
greeting, Mark. I was
Yeah, yeah,
really looking
yeah.
forward to talking to
Sharing
you
is
about your
caring, Tim.
bottom.
Sharing is caring. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, y-
I
tell
once
me
went
something.
on a press
Yeah,
trip to Seoul in South
yeah,
Korea,
yeah.
and it so happened that they put us up in a very fancy hotel, and
As they do if they
the
want to get the story right, Tim. I mean, if you want to get the
exactly.
right story, pay the accommodation. Yeah.
Um,
No, I would
but
never
this
suggest that.
toilet, it was one of those toilets which had, that sprays you and
No, Tim, you're getting
perfumes
worse
you.
than me here.
And
No,
it
we
also
were
had a
fine.
heated toilet seat. And I have to say,
Wow.
I approve. I quite like the
You,
idea of
you
a,
approve of such a thing, do you? Oh, well, I think that's about as lavatorial as we need to get. Good morning.
okay,
And while we're talking about things lavatorial, are we, South
right.
Africa, going down the toilet? I mean, are we falling
Ooh,
apart?
there's a segue. Um, it does worry me too. I mean, this is a big issue. If you just read the average headlines of the average newspaper in South Africa at the moment,
Yeah.
they are just covered with craziness all over the place. Can
No,
I
I
give you one
mean,
example?
yeah, please do.
So the website Currency this morning
Yeah.
did a tabulation of the remuneration of the Joburg owned entities. What the CEO got, right? Um,
Right.
so the head of City Power
Yeah.
earns 4.8 million rand a year. I mean, the
No, I'm
manager of the
sorry to
zoo.
interrupt you. No, no, I've got
Yeah.
to interrupt you on that city power thing because that
Okay.
is exactly what a North Sea oil rig driller gets paid. They get paid $20,000 a month. And those guys risk life and limb out there in the roughest seas in the world with a welding machine trying to fix a
Okay.
hole before it bursts open into oil stuff. So, hey, it's jobs,
Okay.
courses for courses, you may as well. Hey, that's
Okay.
amazing.
But I mean, it
Yeah,
is. I mean, this is more than the president earns, right? But I'll tell you what's the
yeah,
weird thing about this list, right? The head of Joburg Water gets paid
yeah,
3.5 million bucks a year. But
yeah.
here's the funny thing: the head of Joburg Water got a bonus of 218,000 rand. I mean, what this is for what? For weeks of no water in Johannesburg. You get a bonus for that? I mean, it's just extraordinary. I mean, the
Well,
head of Joburg Theatres gets 3.2 million. The head of the zoo gets 2.5. The head of the zoo gets more than the head of the Metrobus. Um, but I suppose that makes sense because you really don't want the tiger getting out of the zoo. I mean,
yeah, don't
that's an
release the
important job.
tiger. Yeah, if you've got a
Yes.
tiger in South African zoo, I'd still be very surprised. But anyway, you know what's happening, Tim, is that the city
Yeah.
and all of the cities, it seems to me, almost without exception, are spending the capital they raise on employing people, not services to the people, and not
Yes.
infrastructure. Okay, not assets. I might summarize by calling that buying votes or buying loyalty, if you will, because
Yes.
all of the contracts are the other way that you can earn money in the city. I promise you, I've looked
Right.
in the news. Now, maybe the good ones don't get into the news, but I haven't found a contract to build something or do something or deliver something that isn't flawed either in its extraordinary market value exaggeration or in its absolute blunt corruption. And so
Right.
the city is just a filter for the cash that we pay through to the
Yes.
people they want to look after. It's a transfer mechanism. And I mean,
Yes.
I'm sorry, but it is. And that's almost universally true. Here's the problem. is
Right.
the larder is running out. And if it's not too much in my imagination, when I watch the politicians on television, they're becoming increasingly less confident.
Right.
They look as though they're in the dock more and more.
Yeah.
Do you have, what is your take,
No,
Tim?
no, no. I agree. I agree. And there's starting to be international ramifications
Yeah,
about this. I mean, you can
yeah,
sort of see
absolutely.
the Wall Street Journal. I don't know whether you read the Wall Street Journal, but the Wall Street Journal over the weekend had this, really extraordinary diatribe about South Africa. Um, and the title of the piece was "Wall Street Misprices South Africa's Collapse." So this is
Oh,
written
wow.
by
I
a
haven't read
guy.
that. What did it say? What did it say?
Well, the headline sort of says it in a way.
Yeah.
It's basically saying this country is disintegrating, and Wall Street is not taking notice and pricing that into
Our
the
bonds.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's kind of weird because the JSE is probably going to go through 100,000 this week sometime. It's certainly not visible on the stock market, but the stock market's an inaccurate guide to the
Yeah, the
economy of
stock
South Africa or
market's
the
a,
state of the country.
yeah, the stock market, I promise you, the whole science, if there ever was one, of valuing companies is a
Right.
constantly changing mystery to me, someone who's spent a good part of his career in corporate finance trying to value companies. Okay. And the metrics for value that we still monitor on the stock market, like price earnings multiples and things, are irrelevant today. Okay, if you look at growth versus earnings, if you look at Nvidia stocks versus if you look at Capitec versus the banks, if you look at the multiple that Capitec trades to its underlying assets compared to the same multiple for Nedbank and Standard Bank, you find so many of these things are completely out of
Yeah.
line with the still reported metrics of value. And so
Right.
I don't think we understand as much as we ever thought we did.
But I mean, isn't South Africa a little bit different here? Because, there's that, granted, I agree completely. But with South Africa, there's something else as well about the JSE. It's such an international group of companies,
Yeah.
or it's a group
It's
of
a
companies
hedge.
that is that are either international or have international earnings, or they are dependent on the gyrations of international commodity markets. In that sense, it's not an accurate demonstration of what's happening on the South African economy on the ground. But just to go a little bit, back to what this guy was saying, um, he was talking about the fact that we're not appreciating the consequences, a real breach in the relationship between South Africa and the US. Um,
No, it's huge. From a capital
yeah,
market perspective, it's huge. I mean, I'll say a couple of things about the JSE. First of all, exchange control cannot be ignored. Okay,
right.
although it has exchange control has been loosened a bit, and thankfully, and there is a little bit more freedom of capital flows. We still, as ordinary people in the street, have to invest our money in locally, pretty much.
Yes.
And I go back to the old days of exchange control, the 80s, where there was proper exchange control and everybody owned everybody else because there was nothing else you could do with your money. The banks were
Yes.
all owned by the mining houses, which were all owned by the banks, which were all owned by and so on. That to extent has dissipated, but as you say, people have diversified offshore, and so it almost becomes an almost a hedge against South Africa, not an indicator of our well-being.
No,
Okay,
this is true.
it's a strange
Another
thing.
example? Another example of the danger of disintegration was this extraordinary story that the South African intelligence services had warned against a coup d'état.
Well,
Um,
that's my
you know,
best. That's the story of the week, man. I'm sorry. Okay. You sit there and you go like, what did you say? A coup d'etat. Yeah.
right?
I mean, first of
Yes,
all, Tim, who's going to do that? Okay. Where could they summons up the organization, let alone the firepower, let alone. Well, I don't know. I'm a little more worried about a hailstorm than a coup d'etat at the moment. Or the absence of water is a bigger problem than a potential coup d'etat. Thank God they didn't talk about an attack coming from the sea. You know why? Because we
right.
only have
Yes,
one ship and it wouldn't even accommodate the 17 admirals that we have to preside over it. I've never heard such speculative, uninformed rhetoric, and
yeah.
particularly in a foreign language. I mean, I'm finished with that thing. I'm sorry, it's my best of the year.
I mean,
Eh?
the strangest thing about it is that this came out of a formal briefing by the presidency, right? Um,
Yeah.
but there was no details, about where the coup d'état threat was coming from. Was it coming from the right, from the left, from the military? Surely that's an important aspect to bring,
No, man. I'll
into the
tell you how it
conversation,
came about, Tim. It was in
right?
the coffee before you go on air. Someone was saying, "Did you hear they've still got no water in Bronkhorstspruit?" And then
Right.
someone said, "Okay, how can we get everyone's minds off that?" And someone in the back said, "Hey, how about a coup d'etat story, man?" And they go, "Brilliant. Let's do that. Let's make a
Yes.
coup d'etat." At the risk of being frivolous, because if there is such a thing, I'd be amazed. It was politicking at its lowest level. I've said enough on this
I
thing
know, yeah,
before. I'll
yeah,
get
yeah.
into
I mean,
trouble.
I think I interpreted it slightly differently. I think this is the South African intelligence services desperate for a reason for being.
An
This is
increase.
this
They're
is
looking for an increase.
That's right. Yes, yes. Yes. Because if there's one thing that puts the fear of God into politicians, it's the possibility of a coup d'état. And if there's a possibility of a coup d'état, then obviously you've got to have, remedial action, which
Defense,
means that
defense, defense.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. That's
you got
right.
to spend.
I think,
Well,
I,
maybe this is what happened. Is the Sapphire pilots have gone on strike. Okay,
right.
so maybe they just saw a whole lot of these uniformed pilots gathering in coffee bars around Johannesburg and other places, and they thought, ah, yeah, you think we don't know what you're up to? Yeah, yeah,
Right.
it's a coup d'état. That's what it is. Tim, I'm finished with
No,
that
it's,
thing.
it's
The good news is we are now going to have a new body called the Public Integrity Body. Have you heard of that?
no. Oddly
Under the
enough,
new
I
minister,
don't
under the
have that
auspices, I
problem.
think, of the new minister or the stand-in minister of police, whatever, I saw a
Right.
headline that we're going to bring into being a public utility body. I mean, sorry, a
Right.
public
Republic.
integrity body. Oops, for the Freudian slip. But yeah.
Yes,
So,
yes.
so, so what will this do? Will you go on trial for your integrity? I mean, these concepts are almost make believe, okay, that we have
Yes,
to
yeah,
have
yeah.
such a thing. We have got more commissions than they have in most military in the world. you know?
Yeah. Yes.
Anyway, I think to be serious for a second, Tim, I detect a degree of instability and nervousness in political posturing,
Yes.
which I haven't hitherto seen to this extent, and one might extrapolate that into questioning the future of the GNU, and
Yes.
and and my sense is that there's going to be change. Whether it's going to collapse or not, I'm not trying to predict, but I think there are going to be trade-offs and deals done to keep the GNU alive or to otherwise, and that goes to the very heart of our political problem, which is that our politicians are facing each other instead of the issues at hand.
I mean,
And
South Africa is such a strange country because although you get all of those indications, and although there's so much that is worrying, then all of a sudden, out of the blue, comes some good news you completely didn't expect. So, there was a G20 finance ministers meeting in
yeah,
KZN this past
yeah.
weekend. And then just out of the blue, they came up with a formal statement, which is really extraordinary because this hasn't happened for over a year. A whole bunch of meetings, the members of the G20 have been at each other's throats. But this time, they've found a kind of consensus. It's a very long and complicated document, and I think they came up with a kind of consensus because they just thought the idea of coming up with consensus was was the most overridingly important thing.
That
So
in
they
itself was the
all of their
consensus.
differences. Yes, if you're going to fill a statement, an international statement with mundanities, then maybe it's easy to come up with a with an
A
agreement.
consensus is just another form of lowest common denominator in the wrong hands.
Yes,
Okay,
yes, yeah.
it is. But I almost want this rearrangement, this reset to take place. And in a perverse sort of way, you're going like, okay, well, let this thing go until it gets so obviously necessary to help that we do start helping. Let's get to the bottom of it. so to speak. Okay, we started this show talking about the bottom of it, and this is where
Yes.
we've come full circle now. Let's get to the bottom of it, Tim, because I think things are getting desperate enough for us to hold hands. And I look forward to that day. I mean, I look forward to ground zero
Yes, that's
for South
true. Yeah.
Africa, and where we start building and where we start saying, okay, let's take this 30-year experiment and let's learn from it and let's rejig it and let's reset the relationships and let's start building. Because I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying right here,
Oh,
and I love the place. And talking about good news,
yeah.
I read somewhere that by some guy called, some philosopher, or I think he was an Italian, called Juvenal, I think he was, who said, "Give them bread and circuses, and you'll never have a revolt." Talking about your coup. And so
Right.
in the modern day, we don't have these fabulous things happening in the Colosseum, but we do have rugby games to watch. And for the first time in forever long, our
Right.
under 20 team beat the All Blacks 23-15, I think it was, to win the World Championships. So we've got depth in our sport. And I watched parts of the game of us playing Georgia over the weekend, Springboks. And if you looked at the crowd,
Right.
you couldn't get a better depiction of a happy coexisting demographic than you'll find there. Okay.
Yes.
And so I think we're looking for common denominators. I think we must talk about Chat GPT and AI and what's happening, because I know you into that stuff, hey Tim. Is it helping you?
I am, but now, Mark, you've raised about 5 different topics that I
Yeah,
want to
I
talk
know,
about. Could
because
you
I'm
just
not like you. I don't raise embarrassing questions. I just hoist stuff out there because I know you'll pick one to fight with me about. Yeah. So have a go. Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, Juvenal wasn't Italian; he was Latin, because he was
All
from the kind
right.
of Roman
He
era.
comes from Rome, but where do you think that is? Okay. I mean,
All
sorry,
right, so
geography
there's
101.
that.
He's from Rome. Okay. Yeah. Carry on.
Yeah, yeah. The second thing is, I just wonder sometimes whether your faith in
Decimus
sport,
Junius Juvenalis. That was his name.
right?
He's a Roman, and if that's
Exactly.
not Italian, well, bugger me sideways. Okay, carry on. Sorry.
Okay. um, so I've been wondering because you've raised this thing about how sport shows us the way before, and I know that you're a sport fan, and you know that I'm not a sport fan. So I just wonder whether sport is a sufficient model to lead us into a better place. Um,
No, I take
uh,
that criticism, and I think you're right. It isn't. What it is
yes,
is an escape that allows us to carry on.
no, this is true. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Which is
And it
why
shows it shows a
the,
melting pot where we can get on if we've got common purpose. Now, it's not a substitute for a functional country, but it is a bit of escapism. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
just
You
to,
did right.
just to, just talking about fun and sort of stadias and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Do you kiss in public? I mean,
I
what is
beg
the
your
protocol
pardon,
for?
Timothy. Eh? Do I kiss in public? Well, yeah, and you're testing my memory here, but
Right.
yeah, I think I would kiss in public if consensually, of course, and
Yeah.
yeah,
But I mean,
not
I
really
suppose
anymore.
I'm talking obviously about this
Okay.
extraordinary global meme, yeah, about the CEO at the Coldplay
Mm.
conference, and the kiss cam. I mean, do we have kiss cams at our, or they're called jumbotrons? I think they, where the camera goes around and it finds some good-looking people in the who are sort of hugging each other in the crowd, and then they put them up on the
Yeah,
screen, right?
yeah, I
Have we
think
got
we
that?
do. I think we
Okay,
do. You often see them zooming in on some fabulously dressed person or some strange thing. I haven't seen them zooming in on kissing and cuddling yet. But I mean, if I was there
right.
and I was kissing and cuddling and dancing, and the camera came on me, I would carry on with the dancing bit. Okay, I would just carry on. What I would not do is dive under the table, because then you don't even
Yes,
need a jury anymore. Okay.
no,
If
that's
the
right.
camera comes away and both of you scatter and dive under the seats, you don't even have to
Yeah.
go on trial, but you're guilty.
No.
Okay. Whereas if you carry on dancing, you go, what are you doing? Ah, we were dancing and we were holding on. And, it was a
Well,
birthday. I
unfortunately,
don't, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Hey?
yeah. No, no, no. But unfortunately, they weren't dancing. They were just sort of like listening to the concert in each other's arms, swaying with what's that song? Fix me.
Yeah, take me to court.
Fix
I'd
you.
say I was dancing. Okay. I'd say that's
Okay.
dancing, Your Honor. Okay. You show me your dance, I'll show you mine. No, it's
All right.
been
Well,
and the copycat memes that have come out of it about who's hugging who have been quite funny
yes.
actually.
No.
But it has
Yes.
destroyed something. Yeah, no, I think we should our point of departure should be that we in the public are on display. I actually think we
Okay.
filmed
That's
I
awesome.
think we are filmed. I don't know if you
Much
go
more
through
than
a
we
shopping
think we
center,
are.
you filmed. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
you're on.
Yeah.
I think you're on record. I think our lives
Yeah.
are pretty much on record,
Yeah.
and so behave accordingly. Particularly if
Okay.
you like dancing and hugging people.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, maybe that's a
Alrighty.
good place to leave it. We need to kiss and say goodbye, or whatever it is,
Yeah.
to all of our listeners. Thank you for listening. Please do comment.
Thank you,
Please do
and thanks for
subscribe
the
and all of that.
yeah. Thanks for the increasing support. We're starting to see a lot more listeners. Thank you. We love that. Okay.
We
Have a
love that.
great week, folks. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. Bye.